First at 5, Hurricane Fred forms in the Atlantic.
And unfortunately, that storm is strengthening. Damon Singleton, are we expecting this system to make its way to the Gulf Coast?
Randy, right now we are not expecting it to make its way to the Gulf Coast. In fact, it's going to just probably be a Category 1 hurricane and die out over the Atlantic as a low-pressure area. I'm going to give you some details on Fred coming up here in a minute.
Plus, we're following breaking news this morning as firefighters are on the scene battling a 2-alarm fire.
Plus, a college student murdered. The possible motive behind the killing and what police are saying about this young man's life on August 30th, 2015.
On your side in Southeast Louisiana, this is WDSU News This Morning.
Should say August 31st, 2015. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Randy Russo.
I'm Latanya Norton filling in for Charles Divins while he's on vacation. And today's top stories are just ahead. But first, your exact cast with meteorologist Damon Singleton. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies. Well, we've got some unusual stuff happening in the tropics.
Yes.
that we're following. Three major hurricanes in the Pacific, and we've got Hurricane Fred, which is over my shoulder, that's formed over or just to the east of the Cape Verde Islands. And you know, it's usually we have those tropical waves making their way off the west coast of Africa over the Cape Verde Islands and then developing into some type of tropical system. But this is already a hurricane, Hurricane Fred. I'll take you in a little bit closer and show you Fred that has 80-mile-per-hour winds. Right now, this is a 6-hour time lapse, and you can see it's formed pretty well, and you can almost make out the eye in this picture, but not quite. It's moving northwest at about 12 miles per hour, and not expected to be an issue for us here in southeast Louisiana. Looks like it's going to maintain that northwesterly course for a while and just head out over the central Atlantic. So if you are up and getting the kids ready for the bus stop this morning, excuse me, no rainfall around right now. I'm expecting a couple of isolated showers this afternoon, but on the day, I've got about a 10% chance of rainfall in the forecast. And this afternoon, when you're headed to pick up the kids, it's going to be hot. Now to Susan Isaacson, time safe traffic.
Thanks, Damon, and good morning, early birds. If you are hitting the roads this morning, we are dealing with light traffic on the roads. If we can go, there we go. Our North Shore drivers are not really seeing too many problems for the most part. 69 in Slidell, 70 in Covington, and 67 on I-55. Now, speaking of Slidell, if you are traveling in that area, doesn't look like we are seeing any slowdowns now, but we do have that construction out there. This is a live look at the I-12, I-10, I-59 interchange. Lots of flashing lights in the area. You can see the cones down there that limits traffic just to one lane. So just keep that in mind that as the morning goes on, we're going to start to see some bunching. So right now, though, all is well, even on the South Shore. If you are traveling on the major thoroughfares, we are dealing with that 7th Ward fire. So if you are traveling in that area near Club Fusions on AP Turo in North Galvez, watch out for that. You might have to take an alternate, such as St. Bernard. But let's go back to the desk with Latanya and Randy.
Thank you, Susan. We're following breaking news right now. A fire is blazing in the 7th Ward.
And that is right. This is all happening at AP Toro near Aubrey Street. The fire broke out around 3:30 this morning. And again, this is happening at a nightclub, a popular nightclub called Club Fusions. Now, so far, no one has been hurt. Police are telling us this is a 2-alarm fire. This is video from earlier when just the flames were shooting out of the roof of the building. Most of this now under control. We saw a live shot here just a few moments ago where just a lot of smoke now fills this area around AP Toro and Aubrey Street. Again, we do have a crew here at the scene. We'll continue to bring you more information on this fire throughout the morning. Well, as a heartbreaker in the Dome Sunday afternoon as the Saints are now without a win in the preseason after losing to the Houston Texans.
The Texans took home the preseason win over the Black and Gold 27-13 at the Superdome. With highlights and a recap of yesterday's heartbreaking game, here's WDSU sports anchor Sharif Ishak.
Well, they say the third preseason game is the most important preseason game. It is because the starters are supposed to play deep into the game. Unfortunately for the Saints, they didn't play that long when it comes to the offense. Drew Brees and company only played one series. It was a long one. It went 12 plays for 75 yards, but only ended up in 3 points.
The thing we tried to look at closely was just the amount of snaps guys are getting up till this point. Guys that haven't missed any snaps, you know, and so that was really the big part of it. So the guys that I felt like had really gotten or hadn't missed any snaps, there were some early outs on defense as well, and that's just the approach we took.
Now, when you look at the stats, it will show the Saints gave up under 300 total yards, but it's all about hidden yards as in penalties. The black and gold saw the yellow hanky hit the turf 11 times for 148 yards. Safe to say Peyton wasn't happy about that, but there was one that really bothered Peyton.
The personal foul on the long return was ridiculous. I mean, it was stupid. Stupid. It's dumb football. That's the type of stuff that just drive you crazy. So we got to get that corrected.
Also have to get the pressure going with the front seven. Yeah, they got their first sack of the preseason, but Peyton knows they need to get those in bunches when the bullets really start flying.
We got one. You know, I told them, hey, we can have a second line tonight, you know, with our first sack. Obviously, we got to improve in that area. It's something that, look, it becomes a lot harder to play defensive back if we can't get to the quarterback or affect the quarterback. Now, we pressured more tonight, which was a little bit of the plan.
And back to Drew Brees for a second. He closes out his preseason 12 of 16 for close to 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was batting 1,000 during the preseason, played in 4 drives and led the Saints on 4 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. Unfortunately, you won't see any of that against the Packers for Brees. On your side in the Superdome, Sharif Ishak, WDSU News.
Meanwhile, it's a big week for the Saints. Tomorrow, the team will have its first cut ahead of the final preseason game on Thursday against Green Bay. Then Saturday, it's the final cut for the black and gold when the team will select its final 53 players.
A former waiter accused in state court of raping 2 women. With former New Orleans Saints safety Darren Sharper has a special request.
Eric Nunez is asking a judge to separate him from another defendant in this case.
Nunez and former St. Bernard Parish Sheriff's Deputy Brandon Licciardi are the remaining defendants in state and federal cases in which Sharper has pleaded guilty. Nunez was added to the federal indictment last month on a charge of impeding a grand jury investigation. Nunez's attorneys argue that unfairly ties him in with Licciardi. Charges against the former deputy include distributing drugs with intent to commit rape. A judge set a September 10th hearing on the motion.
Close friend, brother, and positive role model. That's how many are describing a SUNO student who was murdered Saturday morning in Gretna. Members of the SUNO community are mourning the tragic death of 22-year-old Devon Leggett, who wanted to become a teacher. He was visiting a friend in Gretna when police say he was shot multiple times outside of an apartment complex on Whitney Avenue. His family says his death is the result of an attempted armed robbery.
He told me about his dreams and aspirations of being a teacher and being able to help youth who were in trouble, who came from some of the same neighborhoods that he grew up here in New Orleans.
Well, a 4th-year education major, Leggett was an original member of the Honoré Center at SUNO and just spent the summer doing volunteer work at one of SUNO's summer institutes for kids.
Also this morning, a teenager is recovering after being shot in the 7th Ward. It happened around 7:30 last Sunday morning at the corner of Annette and Murray Streets. Police say the 17-year-old boy was shot in the stomach and arm. His condition is unknown. Call Crime Stoppers if you know anything about this shooting that can help police.
Well, now to Livingston Parish, where deputies are searching for a man wanted for a weekend shooting. This is Jonathan DeBacco. Investigators say that his hair is actually now longer than what you're seeing in this picture. He was last seen in the Arnold Road, Butch Bennett Road area, and he is considered armed and dangerous. So if you do see him, just call 911. 5:08 now, and a Mandeville woman is dead after she was hit while riding her bike. Investigators say the 60-year-old was trying to cross Highway 190 near Colbert Street and pulled in front of an oncoming car. She was thrown several feet and died at the scene. No charges have been filed against the driver, and impairment is not suspected.
Triumph out of tragedy. The stories of young people who have made big contributions in the community, even though you may not hear their stories every day. It's an exhibit held in commemoration of the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. The goal is to challenge negative images you see of young people in the city and tell the stories of kids who've earned millions in scholarships, own their own businesses, hold national titles, have overcome terminal illnesses, and even a top kid chef.
We're rallying, even after this exhibit, we're rallying that these images are what needs to be infused into mainstream media, because if people on CNN only see the Mother's Day shooting over and over 50 times, you're going to think that's what New Orleans is, when clearly that's not the case. You're showing one case over and over when the kids who are making great decisions in life outnumber kids who made the wrong decisions.
The exhibit was organized by the Euthanasia Foundation and their Future Icons of New Orleans program.
Miss Louisiana April Nelson is waking up in Atlantic City this morning preparing for the Miss America pageant. She left Saturday afternoon hoping to become the first Miss Louisiana crowned Miss America. She hails from Mandeville and was selected from 35 women in the 52nd annual Miss Louisiana pageant back in June. The preliminary competition for Miss America starts September 7th in Atlantic City.
Gonna be exciting.
And getting a check of your exactcast right now at 5:10. Damon Singleton joined us from the Weather Center tracking, unfortunately, another system out there in the Atlantic.
Yeah, we're doing that, and of course we're keeping track of our local weather and what's happening in the Pacific. This is a look through our Hyatt Regency camera. Looking pretty good this morning. Take a look through our One Shell Square camera at the Crescent City connection. As you can see, we're looking pretty good there as well. So mostly clear conditions north and south of the lake. Here's a look at your headlines for today. Partly cloudy and hot is what I'm expecting your afternoon to be like. The rain chances for today, tomorrow, and pretty much into Wednesday are remaining pretty low. And you'll notice when you step outside that the humidity is back with us once again. It was gone pretty much all last week, but right now it's at about 76%. So you're going to notice that when you step out of the door. Here's the radar picture. As you can see, radar picture is clear, and then for the most part, it's going to be that way all day long today. I am expecting a couple of isolated showers this afternoon, but not more than a couple of isolated showers. Our chance of rainfall today at about 10% or less. So if you're up and getting ready for the RTA this morning, some mostly clear, mild and humid conditions. Overall temperatures in the 70s for the most part, north and south of the lake. In fact, take a look at the numbers outside, and temperatures have dropped a little bit on the north shore. 69 right now in Slidell. Hammond, you're at 68 degrees. Down here on the south shore, our temperatures in the upper 60s to the low 70s, except over the lakefront where it's 81 degrees, 78 at Boothville, and on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, Gulfport, you're at 72. Biloxi, you're at 73 degrees. And I'm expecting those temperatures by 9 a.m. to rise into the upper 70s, some low 80s out there as well. By noontime, your temperatures in the upper 80s to the low 90s north and south of the lake, the Mississippi Gulf Coast also. And I think your highs this afternoon will be in the low to the mid 90s. A couple of spots might hit about 96 degrees this afternoon, but most of us right around the 92, 93, 94 range with a few showers moving into the area in the afternoon hours. And by 6 p.m., we're back down into the mid to the upper 80s. Now to Susan Isaacson, Time Saver Traffic.
All right, thank you so much. And Damon said the temperatures are going to go up, so lots of people cranking up that AC as they get in their cars this morning because it is muggy outside. And if you are driving on the spillway, well, at least traffic looks nice out there because we have no problems between Laplace and Kenner. If you are driving on the spillway, really smooth drive from the spillway to Kenner, where we're seeing 60 near the airport, and it's going to remain the same all the way to the CBD. A 24-minute drive will get you from I-55 to the city. At this time, light traffic, no major problems as far as your major thoroughfares are concerned. Of course, we've been keeping you updated with that 7th Ward fire at Club Fusions located on AP Tour in North Galveston. So watch out if you can avoid that area if all possible because lots of fire trucks in the area, and just be careful. That's your Time Saver Traffic. Back to the desk with LaTanya and Randy.
Thank you for that, Susan. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton leading the pack.
That's right. However, we'll tell you what a new poll says about 2 other presidential candidates closing in on the front runners.
And after the Obama administration renames a historic mountain the other way, the president is making history in Alaska. Time now is 5:16 and the race for the presidential nominations is getting tighter.
The latest poll shows the front runners' leads in Iowa getting smaller and smaller as they get closer to the caucuses. Andrew Spencer takes a look at the numbers.
The clear frontrunners for the Republican and Democratic nominations may not be as clear as they once were. Democratic candidate and Senator Bernie Sanders continues to rise in the polls as he focuses his attention on income inequality, climate change, and higher education.
Those are the issues I have been talking about. Those are the issues that are generating enormous enthusiasm from one end of this country to the other.
Sanders has cut Hillary Clinton's lead in Iowa to just 7 points, according to a Bloomberg Des Moines Register poll of likely Democratic voters in the first-in-the-nation caucus state. And it may be less about Clinton losing ground than it is about Sanders gaining it. The poll suggests 96% of his supporters are motivated by his candidacy and not a desire to oppose hers. Meanwhile, Ben Carson is closing the gap against Donald Trump. His post-debate surge has been especially strong in Iowa, where this weekend's poll shows him now trailing Trump by 5 percentage points. The poll's margin of error is 4.9. I'm Andrew Spencer, reporting.
Well, now to Virginia, where family and friends remember a photojournalist murdered on the air. Adam Ward's family will receive friends at a high school in southwestern Virginia, not far from where a gunman killed him and reporter Allison Parker during a live report last Wednesday. Ward's family is encouraging people to wear their school colors and show their pride for his alma mater, Salem High School and Virginia Tech. They're also requesting donations to start 2 scholarships in his name in lieu of flowers. The gunman, a disgruntled former co-worker at the TV station WDBJ, later killed himself. Barack Obama becomes the first sitting president to visit the Alaskan Arctic today. He'll be closing out an international conference on global leadership in the region as he focuses on climate change, highlighting most urgent issues that are now facing the Arctic. The president will also meet with both local residents and international leaders.
And now to top stories from around the globe. Police in Hungary said they've arrested a 5th suspect in the deaths of 71 migrants found inside an abandoned truck in Austria last week. The latest suspect from Bulgaria was arrested on suspicion of human trafficking. Meantime, 3 other Bulgarians and an Afghan are already in custody. They could face up to 16 years in prison for trafficking in Hungary, plus murder charges in Austria.
In France, Mark Mugalian, the Virginia native who took an assault rifle away from the man who shot him on a Paris-bound train, is now out of a French hospital.
He'd been hospitalized in France for a week. He told a French interviewer it's a great feeling to be back outdoors. He was shot in the back with a pistol before 3 other Americans took down the attacker.
This is such a great story. You know, I love hearing more and more about these heroes that, again, hail from America. Great story here.
Absolutely.
Well, now for a check of your exactcast and your traffic this morning. Susan, how are those roads looking?
Well, so far so good. We're off to a great start. It's Monday morning and it's going to be rough for a lot of folks, but at least traffic is easy.
That's the good news.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good to hear that, right? And hopefully Damon has good news.
I mean, there's nothing weather-wise that's interrupting your commute. So we're looking pretty good this morning. Some mostly clear skies across southeast Louisiana. The humidity, you'll notice that, especially after some really low numbers last week. And this is a look through our North Oaks Medical Center camera, showing you those great conditions all across southeast Louisiana. Let me take you back out to the tropics and give you another look at Hurricane Fred, a Category 1 storm with 80-mile-per-hour winds moving northwest at 12 miles per hour. Taking it a little bit closer and show you this system just east, if not right over the Cape Verde Islands right now. And this is really unusual for this storm to have developed that close or to the east of the Cape Verde Islands. So it's going to drop about 4 to 6 inches of rainfall over that area before it moves out over the Atlantic as a Category 1 hurricane. Looks like it's going to maintain that Category 1 status for the next several days, then probably get impacted by some of that Saharan dust and dry air that's out over the Atlantic and just become a tropical storm once again, and then a remnant low sometime on Saturday, this coming Saturday. So we're going to follow this very closely. We'll let you know if anything changes with Fred. Otherwise, the rest of the Atlantic is looking pretty quiet right now across the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Nice and quiet conditions as well. But take a look at this. This is out in the Pacific, and it is really incredible to see 4 or 3 Category Category 3 and above, Category 3 and 4 storms all out there at the same time. This is Ignacio, a Category 3 storm. These are Hawaiian Islands right here. Further out into the Pacific is Hurricane Kilo, a Category 4 hurricane. And then, of course, we've got Hurricane Yemena, which is a Category 4 storm. And then there's another area of low pressure to the east of Yemena that's got a good chance, a high chance, 80 to 90% chance of developing into a hurricane as well. So a lot of activity out in the Pacific, but for us, everything is pretty cool right now. We've got high pressure and control of our weather here across the southeast United States for the most part. We all have some pretty nice conditions this morning, some partly cloudy and hot conditions this afternoon. Rain chances are going to remain low for the next couple of days, but the humidity is back, and you'll definitely notice that. Right now at the airport, 76 degrees, some cloudy skies out there, 79% humidity. Here's a look at your temperatures yesterday in the low to the mid 90s, and this afternoon, I think we're going to see some similar numbers. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. As you can see, the rainfall returning to us Wednesday through Friday. Now to Susan Isaacs in Time Saver Traffic.
Well, Damon, at least we're drier on the roads this morning. North Shore drivers not seeing too many problems out there. We do have some construction in Slidell. That's ongoing, no surprise there. But if you are traveling in Hammond, this is your drive, I-12 at I-55. Meanwhile, Covington commuters also looking really good. Mandeville, no problems if you're going towards the causeway, no advisories or restrictions. But this is the construction I'm talking about, the Slidell construction at the I-12, I-59, I-10 interchange. You see the flashing lights with the cones and all those, yeah, well, they have traffic down to one lane in that area. So don't forget about that. And expect some bunching as the morning goes on, because the more cars we see, we tend to see the more bunching. All right, so that's your Time Saver Traffic. Back to the desk with LaTanya and Brandy.
Well, now from the array of colorful and mind-boggling outfits worn by Miley Cyrus to Kanye West's speech, it was truly a night to remember at the MTV Music Video Awards.
That is right, Randy. If you didn't tune in, we'll have a recap of what you missed at this year's VMAs. Stay with us. Well, new this morning, singer Miley Cyrus, who's had some colorful moments at last night's MTV Video Music Awards. Well, last night she returned to the stage as hostess Sunday night.
And you've probably seen Miley wearing some pretty revealing outfits recently, but she kind of mixed it up, matched them up a bit last night for the big show, pretty much running the gambit of things. Anyway, plenty of awards were handed out, including Taylor Swift adding to her growing collection, along with other big winners like Kanye West getting VMA's highest honor, the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award. Now, the rapper also closed out his acceptance speech by announcing that he is going to run for president in 2020. And we just saw Taylor Swift and Nicki Minaj there. Nicki Minaj, we were talking about her colorful moments with Miley Cyrus.
Sort of a beef there, right? Back and forth. But hey, you know, it happens. It happens.
She made it entertaining.
I don't think it was real myself. But anyway,
a lot
that's
of that
just
stuff
me.
is staged too. Yeah.
Well, right now you can get more Miley Cyrus from the web this morning. That's because the racy singer has just released her brand new album online for free. It's entitled Miley Cyrus and Her Dead Pets. The album is available right now at MileyCyrusandHerDeadPets.com. But be warned, as of last night when the 22-year-old singer made the announcement at the end of the show, the website was so overloaded with traffic that reports from fans and social media said it was impossible to get on to download it. Keep that in mind.
And then we might think that she's silly, but she's also doing the right things, getting a lot of attention.
That's right.
Well, this is getting a lot of attention this morning, LaTanya, especially for some of my nieces and nephews, because Bluebell is returning to freezers months after a national recall for listeria concerns.
What the company is putting out today as they relaunch their ice cream products.
Plus, what is next for Nightmare on Elm Street as Hollywood mourns legendary horror film director Wes Craven. You're watching WDSU News this morning. Stay with us.